How's it going, everybody? By now you guys should be familiar with the Viking jewelry, high quality handcrafted bracelets, necklaces, earrings and much more. And I have two different discount codes again for you. Big one meaning 30% is on this pendant, and this time I'll try and pronounce it Velviser. Yeah, this pendant. You can yell at me in the comments if I made a mistake. If you use Freeze30 at the checkout, you get the discount on top of the already ongoing sale. That code is good for the first 72 hours after this video released. And should you be interested in anything else from that store, you can use Freeze15 to get 15% off from any other item for the next 10 days. I've had positive feedback from viewers who already bought something, so go and check them out. All the links you need will be in the video description as well. So we're touching a very delicate subject today. The ever-present question of should Deflects beat Hyperarmor? Every single time this topic only gets mentioned, not even really discussed, there's an outpouring mostly from people that want it changed, but it's certainly a very heated topic. And before we get into it, I just want to give this caveat. Despite the fact that I have a clear standpoint when it comes to this issue, I can also see the other side. You can make an argument for both of them. And as long as that argument is well presented, I'm sure everyone can at least agree that Deflects beating or not beating Hyperarmor can make sense. What I do find issue with though are the arguments that most people use. Let's just start with the biggest nonsense of them all. Deflects should beat Hyperarmor because then people can't just mindlessly spam heavies. Spam heavies. Really guys, that's what we're going for here. Heavy spam. No matter at what skill level you sit in For Honor, if someone told you that heavy spam is in any way, shape or form an issue, then you would laugh at them. But somehow when it comes to Deflects and Hyperarmor, heavy spam all of a sudden is a problem. Who would you blame for not being able to handle heavy spam normally? The guy getting pummeled by the heavies or the guy repeatedly mashing the heavy button? Obviously the guy that gets done in by it. So why is it not the fault of the guy that deflected an attack that has a possible Hyperarmor follow-up? Let's continue this train of thought. Imagine someone who continuously heavy feint guard breaks a Centurion or a Gladiator and thus keeps getting smacked with a heavy because the opponent attempts to parry. Whose fault is it? The guy that doesn't feint his parry attempt? Or the guy that keeps trying to guard break someone with 100 millisecond guard break vulnerable heavies? Should these safe heavies exist? No, obviously not, but it's not the Cent or the Gladiator's fault. The lack of knowledge, or maybe the ignorance from the person trying to guard break them, is what's at fault here. You always hear a similar argument here. I shouldn't be punished for the opponent making a wrong read. But it's your own fault for even attempting it. There are clear rules, well somewhat clear rules when it comes to that stuff. I explained most of them in detail in multiple videos. Years ago actually, yet people ignore what information is out there because complaining is much easier than learning how to actually deal with stuff. Another argument I keep hearing is that deflects are much harder to pull off and that they're flashy and cool, so they should be rewarded more. First of all, being flashy and cool is not something that has any bearing on balance on the game. Just because some clown made a deflect montage and took repeated risks round after round to get a few clips he can edit together doesn't mean that this playstyle should carry a high reward. Ask the guy who made the montage how many hours of footage he or she had to delete to get the clips needed for that 3-minute video. Yeah, it looks nice if it works, but it feels like people want to make it the norm. But back to the topic at hand, deflects are harder than parries. Yes, side deflects certainly are. And I've also explained this before why it's 66 millisecond window. Deflects work like a block, a normal block. This means that you cannot deflect unblockables, hence the name. If we had the full 200 millisecond window here, this would mean you couldn't dodge unblockables, because they're usual iframes and now block frames. So that's something that won't change no matter how many times you ask. Well, I can't guarantee it, but I highly doubt it. But hard doesn't mean impossible. Plenty of people have practiced and can get side deflects pretty consistently. And the beauty of deflects is that pretty much all of them give a higher punish against heavies than a parry would. Deflecting heavies is obviously riskier than deflecting lights, but the reward is higher, so that falls in line with what people want. Notice how far off topic we've gotten? It's supposed to be about Hyperarmor and deflects, but it doesn't matter whether you deflect heavies or lights, because it's about the follow-up attack. It's about whether you want to trade with an attack or not. You take the risk by attempting it in the first place, and knowing the possible follow-ups and the damage difference between your deflect and whatever attack you might eat. If you're a Orochi player that spams side dodge attack in hopes of getting a deflect and then eats a 40 damage heavy, then oh well, that's your fault. You do have a heavy deflect that will absolutely trade with any attack, and with 50 damage you also come out on top every single time. You literally have built-in mechanics in some characters that help you deal with the exact issue you're complaining about. From characters like Zerka and Shinobi who just interrupt the Hyperarmor, to characters like Orochi that can always trade, or Shaolin and Shaman that can actually punish a follow-up attack after a deflect. It's not a global issue that plagues every deflect. It's on the one hand players that don't fully grasp the capabilities of the characters they play, and on the other hand it's characters that lack the ability to at least be able to trade. I'm looking at you, Gladiator. Your skewer deflect is just sad. This brings me to another argument. Reflex Guard doesn't have any advantages anymore, it's mostly disadvantages, so deflects should be stronger. This is treating the symptoms of the problem instead of the problem itself. Yeah, Reflex lost the advantage of being able to attack faster after a feint compared to static, but that change was for the better. I don't want to go back to how it was before. Same as I don't want to change deflects because of that argument, because that wouldn't make Reflex Guard any better. One thing has nothing to do with the other. These are problems that need addressing separately, so let's not try and find some artificial connection between the two. That's an issue in general, people trying to make an argument with the help of unrelated issues. Reflex Guard has issues, but making deflect stronger won't fix those issues. Last argument I keep seeing, and the one I can probably relate to the most, is the risk of deflects. Just like parries, deflects leave your character open to punishes. And that's what's supposed to happen, a defensive action that is punishable. That's exactly what people are talking about when they say open someone up. If you dodge, you open yourself up to being guard broken. What's that? Dodge attack? Do assassins have that? Alright, assassins have dodge attacks. Now all of a sudden you can punish the guard break attempt from the other guy. And you could have feinted into nothing and parried your dodge attack. So we're back to letting a parry attempt fly or feinting it. Risk is roughly the same. And you even have characters that can incorporate the deflects into an option select, covering light parry, heavy parry and feint to guard break, covering 3 of 4 possible options. But once again, what's that got to do with Hyperarmor? In the end, it boils down to not knowing when to deflect and when to better parry. You're blaming game mechanics for your own bad decisions. It's just an excuse and Hyperarmor is the scapegoat. Hyperarmor is a good addition to chained attacks. With Hyperarmor on chain starters, we get the heavy on red problem. But people somehow rather joke about that and complain about combo Hyperarmor. A common statement about For Honor is that it lacks depth, so why are we trying to get rid of the little we have? Don't take away from it, matchup knowledge should be a thing that's important. Whether that's the kind of depth that we want or need for the game is a whole nother can of worms, and I'm not opening that one today. All I'm asking for is that if you're making an argument for the removal or addition of a mechanic, please don't use unrelated things for it. It's easy to bring something in that you know a large part of the community feels strongly about, but only do so if it actually has any bearing on the topic at hand. Thanks for listening, guys. Laters, everybody.